Thank you very much for inviting me to be a part of this afternoon's debate. Ohio, over the last 10 years, has been a litany of disasters. Over the past 10 years, we have lost more jobs than any state in the Union except Michigan, second worst record in America. The only time Ohio makes national news anymore, except, of course, when the Bengals go to the Super Bowl. I'm sorry. But if I were governor, we would have won. The only time Ohio ever makes national news is when schools close or cities go bankrupt or plants shut down, throwing thousands out of work. That is what America knows about Ohio. So the job of the next governor is going to be to turn that record around. We are one of the few states in America that has the capacity to influence its own economy. Not exclusively, but we still have an influence. If Ohio were a country, we'd be one of the richest countries in the world. We're sitting on 200-year supply of coal, third richest coal reserves in America. We're one of the richest water states in America, with a lake to the north and the rivers to the south. We are the second largest urban state, with 8 cities of over 100,000, and yet our number one industry is agriculture. So we can feed people. 70% of all Americans live within 500 miles of Columbus. So we're a tremendous marketplace for Ohio's goods and services. If you put all those resources together, human resources, natural resources, energy resources, you say to yourself, if we'd be so rich as a country, how come we're broke as a state? Well, we're broke as a state because we don't use our own resources to affect our own economy. I would like to today, in a short 7 minutes, talk to you about one of those resources. I would like to create here in the state of Ohio what I call a national offense. President Reagan says that the number one priority in America today is national defense. Fine, that's something for a president to talk about. What about our offense? We don't have it anymore. In football, they have what we call prevent defense. You're leading late in the game. Everybody drops back to make sure the other team doesn't throw the long bomb, and you become very conservative on offense. That invariably is when the other team scores. That's exactly what America's playing today. We're playing prevent defense. We've surrounded our country with missiles to make sure nobody throws the long bomb, but we've stopped having an offense. What's our offense? Our minds, our creativity, our schools. Those are our offensive weapons. Right now, education is the lowest priority in our society. It's the lowest priority in our state. It's the only thing we're allowed to vote against. If you get up, people get angry with Reagan, with Reaganomics, they get angry with Congress, you get angry with taxation, you can't vote against your federal income tax. So people get up election morning, angry with government, angry with taxation, angry with their spouse, they go to the polls, say, I'm angry, I'm voting no. What's on the ballot to vote no on? School levies. 3 out of 4 people who vote on school levies don't have children in public schools, and then we wonder why our schools keep closing. I always say that we pay our shortstop in Cincinnati $4.5 million for throwing people out at first base. Great, throws them out every time. He hasn't taught one child how to read. What do we pay our teachers? We have to make education a priority again in this state. We're sitting in the 3rd largest corporate headquarters in America, Cleveland, Ohio. And within 5 blocks of these corporate buildings are all these folks who are out of work. And one of the reasons they're out of work is because we held their kids in our schools for 12 years, and we never taught them a skill which relates to the jobs which exist in those buildings. Education has to be the top priority. First, we have to get it off of the property tax. The property tax is an unfair tax. It's unfair to the people that have to pay it because it bears no relationship to their ability to pay. And it's unfair to our students because a child's education becomes dependent purely upon the wealth of his neighbors or the willingness of the neighbors to vote an increase in their tax. When was the last time we voted on state police? Why do we hold our kids hostage to the economic and political environment of the moment? I say we take education off of the property tax, finance it out of statewide graduated income tax. You have a good year, you pay. You have a bad year, you don't. 4 days before the election, I'm telling you we need a statewide graduated income tax, an increased tax to pay for education. It's not sacrilegious to say that. It's the truth. It's the truth. Why do we keep believing that we can run for political office by always saying no new taxes, no new taxes, no new taxes? Those are lies, lies, lies. There are always new taxes. When we're not raising our state taxes, we're forced to raise our local taxes. If we don't pay for education now, we're going to pay for it later. We're going to pay for it in closed schools, bankrupt cities, and our kids bolting for the coast as soon as they turn 18 because they don't believe they have a chance of making it here in America. We are going to have to pay for education. The future is high technology. High technology is not going to come to a state that can't keep its schools open or won't finance its institutions of higher learning. We're going through what New England went through 20, 30 years ago when the textile industry picked up and moved south. New England was devastated. They looked around. What did they have? They had good schools, great universities, and they became the center for high technology. They now have a booming economy. We have to do the same thing here in the state of Ohio. We have to concentrate on a strong education system that will bring jobs to Ohio because there'll be a trained labor force, and there'll be people prepared to take the jobs of the next generation. That is what a governor has to do. I refuse to join the stampede to the right that is taking place here today in this country and is also starting to take place in our party. I sometimes have the feeling, watching the debate, watching this campaign over the last 2 weeks, that we should have shown up last week when you had the Republican candidates here, because I'm not sure I see a difference. I think that we are starting to pay homage to the Republican issues. No matter what we say in this room, the television commercials we run are commercials on the death penalty, commercials on mandatory sentencing, commercials on no new taxes. What is the difference between us and the Republicans if that's what we try and get elected on? I refuse to sacrifice the principles and constituency of the Democratic Party on the altar of no new taxes. When my parents came to this country, they became Democrats. And they decided to become Democrats, and what drew them to the Democratic Party was not the rallying cry of a death penalty. Being survivors of a Holocaust, you start to lose your affection for that remedy. They did not become Democrats because of the rallying cry of mandatory sentencing. They did not become Democrats because of the rallying cry of no new taxes. They became Democrats because the Democratic Party was the one party that seemed to sense the passion and need of people who are down and out at times of their lives, people that are out of work, people that have no money, people that have a mentally retarded child that needs help. These services cost money. And who are we to say that we're going to cut back on those vital services? Not if I'm your governor, not if I'm the leader of the Democratic Party. We are going to fight not just for the leadership of this party, we're going to fight for its soul. We're going to remember that we're Democrats. Thank you.
Mr. Springer, I'd like to know what your position will be in view of the issue of mandatory sentencing, which we seem to have a lot of different and conflicting views on. My question would be directed to how, once we sentence these individuals, we will deal with the overcrowded penal system, the needed reforms, and who is going to foot the bill that will actually arise from this kind of heavy court docking and heavy implication on our own population.
In 1 minute, we will foot the bill. No one's going to donate those facilities to us, so we're going to have to foot the bill. To have mandatory or presumptive sentencing, obviously we're going to need additional facilities that are humane, facilities whereby there is some hope that when the person completes his or her sentence, they will have a chance of coming into this society and not repeating the kind of offenses that have taken place before. That is what I got out of the question. Did I miss any part of the question? The money will come out of the state budget, which is a statewide graduated income tax. There is no way to say that you're for mandatory sentencing and then not, and at the same time say that we won't have a tax increase, because you can't ask these people to stand by a tree and not move for 20 years. You got to put them in something.
For Jerry Springer, you indicated that Ohio has great water resources, and I'm curious why Ohio is the only Great Lakes state that allows dumping detergent phosphates where all the other Great Lakes states prohibit it. And being from Cincinnati, I'm curious if Procter & Gamble has some minor influence.
Procter and who? I want to personally thank you for that question. There is no question that if we are to use our water resources adequately, there are three uses of it, particularly in the development of our ports. We have to have part use in terms for recreational activity, partly used for residential activity in terms of developing our ports. And for example, down in Cincinnati, we developed our riverfront, and we divided it part recreational, part residential, and part commercial. That gets the best use of a city's water resources. And there has to be a balance. The most important, obviously, is the need for people to be able to drink water. and I support the strongest legislation possible, the strongest EPA legislation possible in terms of what we do with our water. Right now, the system we have is that we have a voluntary reporting system. In other words, if you pollute the waterways of America, not just Ohio, the very best that happens, I'm done? Well, it's better that I'm done than Procter & Gamble's done, so that's okay.
I will refer to Mr. Springer, please. My name is Manuela Gomez. I belong to the seniors, citizens of Ohio, and especially to the 2S Community House. Right now, the president is taking everything away from us. Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, everything. Even he's going to take away all the senior citizen centers. Do you know that we go there for a hot lunch at 12 noon and recreation and many benefits that we are getting? What are you going to do from now on if you are elected governor of Ohio? Because we need support. Right now, the low-income people, they have so much to do.
I think we do have your question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I refuse as a governor to preside over the dismantling of a compassionate society. I hope and will fight with every ounce of energy I have to make sure that President Reagan's new federalism doesn't take effect, that those services that are currently financed oftentimes by the federal government, that they don't get cut, that they don't get sent back all to the states. But I will say that if those programs get cut, senior citizen housing, social services that affect seniors, ability to subsidize utility payments for people that can't afford them, that we are prepared to make up that difference. We have to. We have no choice. There is no one in this society that is so fortunate and so lucky that they can go through life and saying, I made it, why can't they? I'm not going to support that program because I'm doing well. Because tomorrow it can be you. And we will finance it. It'll, as I said, there's only one way to pay for these services, and that's out of our pockets, and that means a statewide graduated income tax. There's no shortcut around it.
We will now have the closing statement of Jerry Springer.
I suspect that the accusation that I'm of the 1960s, well, I did live during the 60s. And I might say that one thing is the same. I have not seen evidence that we have eliminated poverty, as we had not in the 60s. I have not seen that today, in 1982, we have eliminated the problems of ill health, ill housing, decaying cities, people hurting, people in need. And so those feelings are still the same. I have the same feelings I had as soon as I was old enough to develop a political philosophy. We are now living in the 1980s. And the 1980s deserved the same caring, the same sense of compassion. We have to have a government that feels, not just manages. You hire managers, you can't hire leaders. We have to inspire people, inspire the Democratic Party to say we have not forgotten what our roots are. For the last 10 years, I've been a city councilman and mayor of the city of Cincinnati. The city's doing pretty well. I've had to live my political philosophy every single day for 10 years in one of the toughest communities in America to live it, particularly if you have my political philosophy. So I'm not new to this. The only thing I haven't done before is run for statewide office. And I'm not sure that's a major requirement. I think running for statewide office before doesn't make you smarter, doesn't necessarily make you more creative, doesn't necessarily make you more innovative. It just makes you tired. And Ohio doesn't need. I'm not sure Ohio needs a tired governor. You won't be disappointed if I'm governor, I promise you that.